Have you ever stopped to ask yourself what separates an ordinary sorcerer from an existence that defies the very rules of the universe? In the world of Jujutsu Kaisen, strength isn't just about who hits hardest, it's about who rewrote the laws of reality, who turned their very being into a weapon so sharp that the entire cosmos trembles. And today, we're going deep into this list. No romanticizing, no fanboyism, just the raw truth about who really runs this universe. But before we start, close your eyes for a second. Picture yourself in an open field at night, and you realize the air around you has stopped moving. No sound, no movement. And then you feel it. That presence that doesn't need to speak to be felt. That's what the characters on this list represent. Now open your eyes. Let's begin. Number 10. Aoi Todo. Todo is one of those characters the fandom underestimates on the outside and cries about on the inside when he finally steps into action. This 6'3" giant isn't just muscle, he's tactical intelligence operating in real time. His technique, Boogie Woogie, sounds simple on paper. Swap positions with anything that carries enough cursed energy, activated by a single clap. But then you stop and think, how many battles are decided by who controls space? Almost all of them. Todo doesn't fight with brute force, he fights with geometry. He scrambles the enemy's spatial perception in a way that very few sorcerers can counter. And there's more. He took Yuji Itadori from a lost student to a real fighter in a matter of hours. Not just anyone can do that. Todo's presence on a battlefield changes the entire dynamic. He belongs here. Number 9. Nanami Kento. If Todo was calculated chaos, Nanami is absolute precision. This man chose to walk away from the corporate world to kill curses, and he carried the seriousness of an executive into every punch, every slash, every decision on the battlefield. His technique, Ratio, divides the enemy's body into 7 equal parts and focuses all the energy on the inevitable weak point created at the dividing line. It's geometry converted into lethality. What makes Nanami special isn't just the technique, it's the mindset. He doesn't hesitate, he doesn't exaggerate, he doesn't waste a single movement. In Jujutsu Kaisen, where everything is theater and excess, Nanami is the silence that cuts deeper than any scream. And that scene against Mahito, anyone who watched it knows the weight it carried. Nanami wasn't invincible, but he was necessary. And sometimes, necessary is more powerful than invincible. Number 8. Yuta Okotsu. This is where the conversation starts to shift. Yuta entered the series as a boy haunted by the spirit of the girl he loved. Rika Okotsu was no ordinary curse. She was called the Queen of Curses, and all that colossal cursed energy lived attached to a teenager who barely understood what a cursed technique even was. Over time, Yuta didn't just control Rika, he internalized her. He developed the ability to copy other sorcerers' cursed techniques, something that in theory should be impossible. He's one of the few characters classified as special grade from the very beginning, recognized by the Six Eyes as an anomaly. Yuta on a good day can fight and pressure sorcerers that would make other special grade sorcerers think twice before advancing. He still has room to grow in the narrative, and that room is terrifying. Number 7. Ryomen Sukuna Fragments. Hold on. Sukuna shows up again further down this list, but here we need to talk about him inside Yuji Itadori, the contained, fragmented version that appears in flashes. Even imprisoned in a human body, consuming only 1 or 2 of his own fingers, Sukuna already demonstrated a power that goes beyond the comprehension of most living sorcerers. He reversed Yuji's death out of pure condescension. He tore through Mahito like wet paper, and he did it with a look of boredom on his face. The difference between fragmented Sukuna and complete Sukuna is so absurd that placing them at the same level would be dishonest. That's why he lands here at number 7, with the implicit note that, even so, this version of him already humiliates the overwhelming majority of sorcerers in the series. Number 6. Hajime Kashimo. Kashimo is a character that turned a lot of heads when he came in swinging. He lived for centuries waiting for the chance to face Sukuna. He literally bet his soul on it. That level of obsession already says something about the character, but what's truly impressive is what he carries alongside it. His technique, Mythical Beast Amber, converts his own body into a generator of cursed electricity. He doesn't launch lightning from a distance, he is the lightning. Every touch becomes a discharge. Every movement carries enough voltage to demolish entire structures. Kashimo combines brutal physical strength, speed, durability, and a technique that makes close-range combat dangerously lethal even for sorcerers with solid defenses. He got as close to Sukuna as many ever have. That speaks for itself. Number 5. Hitomito Higuruma. This one goes against a lot of people's instincts, but stay with me. Hitomito wasn't born a sorcerer. He's a lawyer, a man who developed cursed energy from the accumulated rage of watching the legal system fail to protect innocent people. And that rage transformed into one of the most unique and devastating techniques in the entire series: deadly sentencing. He summons a courtroom, he puts the enemy on trial, and if the verdict is guilty, and it almost always is, he can confiscate the opponent's cursed technique, stripping someone of their own ability in a universe where everything revolves around cursed techniques is the equivalent of complete disarmament. More than that, his executioner, Judge Man, carries the guillotine, and a successful execution is lethal, full stop, no negotiation. Hitomito forced Sukuna to think, not win easily. Think. That alone places him in another tier.
Number 4. Satoru Gojo. We've arrived at the name half the fandom expected to be number 1. Gojo is the strongest sorcerer in contemporary humanity. That's not an opinion, it's the consensus of the series' universe. 6 eyes combined with infinity create an existence that is, in practice, untouchable by conventional means. His infinity isn't a barrier he activates, it's his natural state. It's the mathematical reality of the space between 2 points being stretched to infinity around his body. Nothing touches Gojo unless he allows it. And when he strikes back with Hollow Purple or his domain expansion, Unlimited Void, he places the enemy in a state where the mind receives so much simultaneous information that it completely freezes. So why isn't he number 1? Because this ranking is honest, and in the manga, Gojo encountered something his domain couldn't definitively resolve. He's the peak of humanity, but what stands above him is not human. Number 3. Kenjaku. Kenjaku is the kind of character that redefines what it means to be a threat. This being has existed for over 1,000 years, not because he's naturally immortal, but because he learned to stitch his own brain inside other people's bodies and keep on living. He inhabited Noritoshi Kamo. He inhabited Yuji Itadari's mother. He survived centuries of history manipulating events, sorcerers, and entire organizations like chess pieces. The technique he carries changes with each body he inhabits, but his genius is constant. Kenjaku isn't just physically powerful, he's a systemic threat, a mind that thinks in timescales other characters can't even begin to conceive. And here's something that needs to be said. Kenjaku can use the techniques of every body he's ever inhabited. He's accumulated abilities across centuries. That's not just strength, that's a walking library of destruction. Number 2. Ryoman Sukuna Complete. Complete Sukuna is a different category of existence entirely. When he reclaims his true body, with all his fingers, with his entire essence unfiltered, what appears on screen isn't a powerful villain, it's a catastrophe with consciousness. His technique, Dismantle and Cleave, converts cursed energy into absolute cutting force and concentrated explosion. But what truly separates Sukuna from everyone else is his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. Inside his domain, attacks are automatically precise. There is no dodging. There is no sufficient defense. The entire space becomes a butcher's kitchen where he is the only one holding the knife. He faced Gojo. He faced Kashimo. He made Higuruma work for it. He treated each of those battles like light exercise. Sukuna doesn't fight. He evaluates. And when he decides it's over, it's over. So what sits above him? Number 1. Mahoraga and the incarnation of Sukuna beyond form. But more than that, it's the concept Sukuna represents when everything converges. Mahoraga is the Shikigami of the 10 shadows that no member of the Zenin clan ever managed to tame in the entire history of the clan. Not one. She adapts to any technique, any attack, any pattern, and develops resistance in real time. Evolution as a weapon. And Sukuna didn't just defeat Mahoraga, he tamed her, integrated her, and used her adaptative ability in combination with his own technique to create something the manga describes as territorial scale destruction, literally erasing chunks of Tokyo with slashes that followed the same adaptative logic as Mahoraga. Sukuna with Mahoraga integrated is the top of this pyramid. He is the final answer to the question of who rewrote the rules of the universe. Before we close, I need to say something most ranking videos completely ignore. What makes Jujutsu Kaisen different from other shonens isn't just the scale of power. It's that in this universe, strength has a cost. Nanami died, Gojo was sealed, and what came after shook the entire fandom. Yuta grew up walking through real pain. Sukuna isn't invincible because he's special. He's invincible because he chose, across centuries, to never stop being cruel, intelligent, and relentless. The characters on this list aren't powerful by accident. Each one represents a philosophy of existence. Todo represents that intelligence beats brute force. Nanami represents that discipline without hesitation is a weapon. Kenjaku represents that time and patience are forms of power that no technique can match. And Sukuna represents that when a being decides to become the incarnation of destruction, the universe simply bends. And now here's the question that won't leave your head after all of this. If Sukuna at his peak represents the absolute limit of what a being can be in this universe, what does that say about the human nature of Yuji Itadari, who carries the memory, the fingers, and the curse of that same being inside his own body, and still chooses the fight?